You probably don't know if you recall when Voyeurist came out. We actually chatted,
Oh,
Wall
cool.
of Sound. And then when Lost in the Sound of Separation came out, we
Oh,
chatted.
wow. Wow. Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
long way back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for your time again, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have the new record out. It's out with the world. How are you feeling about it currently?
Um, yeah, honestly, it's really exciting. Under Oath is at the point, I think, to where we don't necessarily have to make music, only make
Yep.
music when we only really need to make music when we have something to say and a point to prove. And um, I think we were at that point making this record, and it wouldn't have come out. We didn't need to release anything unless it was what we felt like was the perfect representation of us at the specific time. And I
Hmm.
feel really strongly about it. I'm really proud of our band and our friendships and how far everything has come. To be in the place that we're at. Oh shit, my bad. To be in the place that we're at right now, um, is it's exciting.
Yeah. That's a pretty perfect word, I think, for the record. I did get to review it for the Note Mag, and it's an exciting record. It doesn't hold back in an electricity and energy that I think Under Oath are capturing better and better as they come along, especially after Erase Me. This seems like a revamped explosion on the last two records that I'm really enjoying. Um, I think as well, what I'm finding, especially with this record, is my connection to the lyrics a lot more, which I'm very glad I'm interviewing you about today because I can pick your brain a little bit, if that's all
Oh yeah,
right, of course.
absolutely. Pick
Yeah.
away, my friend. Pick away.
All right. Excellent. The one that kind of resonated with me quickest, which I thought was going to be Generation No Surrender, but it wasn't. It was actually Loss. And I guess at the point of my age, and probably similar with you, I'm 40, have gone through quite a bit of it.
Right.
And I feel I guess, acknowledgement of grief. And if you want the five steps or however we go through it, I was just wondering what possibly inspired that song for you when you were in the writing zone during this record, and that song especially.
Well, um, there's a couple underlying themes there. I mean, obvious loss. We all experience loss throughout our life, and how we handle it. And the song is touching from on a mental standpoint side as well, where you're dealing with this other person and how they're, you know, that whole thing. Like I took your pillow and called it my medicine. All this stuff where you feel like you're kind of losing it in a way, and it's all
Mm.
on you. But like, at the end of the day, the antagonist, the other character is stuck, like in the chorus, stuck living in their own skin, like living with their decisions and how we treat ourselves and treat others, and it won't change the outcome, which
Mm.
in the end is loss of a friendship, a relationship, or even someone's life or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We kind of come from it from all angles in that standpoint, but in that song, I'm kind of like yelling at someone that was always pointing the finger at me and making me feel like I'm crazy. But when at the end of it, it was, abuse on their end. Um, and they're the ones that are going to be stuck with the aftermath of how they treat others. And,
Yeah.
I can get out of a situation and be like, oh, I can't believe I was in that and doing that for so long. I'm fucking crazy, like,
Mm.
but that wasn't me doing that to myself, so
Yeah.
I can pick up the pieces and move along, and the other party has to deal with the loss of the relationship or friendship or whatever it may be, and deal with the fact that that's how they treat others.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find it therapeutic writing it, or if you perform it, do you find a release
Yeah,
now with that song? Yeah.
yeah. I we're opening up with that song right now, and it's so fun to, that song's got that like, it has that high energy kind of drum and bass
Yeah.
electronic feel that I love in
Mm.
heavy music. And then, you know, it's in your face. It's got a breakdown. It's got a big chorus. It's just a
Yeah.
fun song to perform, and I love it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You talked about the pill in Lost, and it comes up again in and then there was nothing. Is that a different pill medication or whatever that you're referring to, whether metaphorically? Is that song a different kind of energy to Loss? Is that a different
No, it's
realm?
kind of
Yeah.
the same. Like it's not a concept record by any means, but we tend
Yeah.
to write. We definitely write from experience, and I think
Hmm.
with this record, I think the stuff that I was going through was happening around the time of Voyeurist and writing
Yeah.
Voyeur, but like coming out of the other side of it and being able to like look at it clearly with a clear mind.
Hmm.
I was a drug addict for a long time, and I got out of a drug addict, and then I was in a very toxic, abusive, um, manipulative relationship that I was, you know, things that I wouldn't wish upon anybody.
Yeah.
And when I got out of all of that and my life was in a clear spot and things are actually really good, I can look back and write on these scenarios with a little
Mm.
bit, and like the anger is there for sure, but that's
Yeah.
just the release. Like I don't walk around angry. I'm not an angry person. I'm a very happy person. My life's really good. Like I'm getting married in September. I've got like my
Oh,
band's going well. Like everything's going great. But when I
yeah.
wrote, I was writing in, hindsight of the things that I lived through, you know, the you know, the last 5 years or so.
Hmm.
And you know, just having someone in your life that makes you feel like no matter what you do, you're the problem, and that like you're never enough, and that you can be in those in a narcissistic scenario where
Mm.
it's very abusive and very manipulative. And when you when you're surrounded by a narcissist, they manage to push everyone else
Mm.
completely away from your life because they're so terrible to be around. None of your real friends and your family want to be around it, and then you find
Mm.
yourself on an island at some point, and that's a tough spot to be in, especially
Yeah.
when it started as a recovering addict,
Mm. Mm.
coming fresh out of rehab, and then that scenario presents itself, and you're not really in a spot to make the right, quite, you weren't quite, I wasn't quite in the spot to make the right decisions for myself when I found myself in the scenario. And the scenario went on for too long, and it was bad. But that's, the record's about more than that. There's a lot of other elements in the record, but those two
Mm.
songs in particular, like a lot of the anger comes from, you
Yeah.
know, being in a, you know, mentally and physically abusive, being on the receiving end
Mm.
of that. It's not fun.
No.
You know.
I'm sorry to hear that, but obviously, congratulations on getting married. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm in September. I get to marry my best friend. She's the best human I've
Yeah.
ever met. So I feel like everything we go through happens for a reason. And coming out of such a shitty scenario, out of another shitty scenario, like you think that your rock bottom is being on drugs and being an addict, and then you go through recovery and realize how hard recovery can be, to
Mm.
then realize how, if you're not careful, the wrong relationships in your life can be equally as damaging. And then
Yeah.
to come out on the other end as a happy, healthy person, I've had my life together for quite some time, and being happy and healthy, leading these healthy habits, and coming out the other side of it gives you a whole different perspective of like, when you're writing about addiction and stuff, you're like, not everyone has to deal with that. And then
Mm.
I lived through this other scenario of like, but humans can be just as dangerous as drugs are. And
Mm.
it almost gave me a whole different like thought process of like writing about all these different things in life can really help other people out if we're just able to be honest about them, and share our scenarios, and
Yeah.
not come in at like you're better than someone because you lived through something, which is what survivor's guilt kind of touches on, where I have the guilt feeling of surviving drug addiction when a lot of my friends that weren't even as deep into drugs as I was are dead.
Yeah.
I find it more of I was lucky. I got out before the
Yeah.
fentanyl phase really hit, and a lot of my friends didn't. And some people that I know that maybe would just party once a month are dead. And I was using
Yeah.
drugs every
Right.
day. I was using drugs every day for 13 years. Me getting out when I did because I had exhausted all ends of my body and I was completely at rock bottom doesn't make me better than someone. I'm just fucking lucky. And then I have to
Mm.
deal with all these thoughts of guilt and stuff with knowing these people that didn't make it and their families are dealing with, back to what we were talking about earlier, with loss.
Yeah.
And they're
Mm.
dealing with all these different emotions. So this record has a lot of lyrical themes tied into one major theme of us as humans experience a lot of hurt, experience a lot of loss,
Mm.
experience a lot
Yeah.
of pain, and the more that we can be there for one another, and I find that as this band has gotten older and our friendships have become more important than
Mm.
whether our band is charting or what Spotify playlisting we have, like,
Yeah.
and whether a fan on Reddit's pissed that we don't sound like the Find the Great Line or not. I don't fucking care anymore. What I care about
Good.
is these relationships that we build, and the guys in this band are I'm closer with than my own blood brothers. Like I've spent more
Oh,
time
yeah.
with these guys, and
Yeah.
I care if they're happy and they're healthy, and us taking care of one another and taking care of ourselves mentally, and um, taking the time to make sure your relationships are intact with your loved ones and your family and your friends,
Mm.
and then that bleeds into the art, which is us making
Yeah.
music that makes us excited and things that we want to share. And I think the lyrics are always going to be real and the music's
Hmm.
always going to be fun, you know?
Yeah.
And if we
Yeah.
can keep those two things intact, then I'm happy.
Excellent. Leads into the generation versus generation no surrender, and what I loved about it, the us versus them. It's probably my punk rock spirit for 30 odd years. Yeah. The
Yeah.
anti-authority, all of those things. Is this the is it the tie into more like getting away from this bad scenario you're in, moving into something else, or is us versus them a bigger picture?
I think it's a bigger picture. The song is kind of coming from like a riot standpoint, apocalyptic
Hmm.
mindset, which I feel like if you looked in a history book, I know in America, the history books are definitely altered to make America look better, but I don't know how schooling is down in Australia, but like, I think if 20 or 30 years from now you read about our generation, and what I mean by generation no surrender, I don't mean like our actual generation, maybe your millennial or
Yeah.
gen whatever. I meant like all of us that have lived through this. I call our generation like the people that were like a part of the scene and lived through anything from 9/11 to COVID and everything in between and before.
Yeah.
Like we've gone through a lot, and I feel like us versus them, you can kind of figure out who the them is there. Like we're not a political band by any means, but I feel like
Hmm.
us as citizens being lied to all the time and being
Yeah.
taken advantage of, and I feel like at this point, after all the shit that we've lived through, I feel like in this apocalyptic imagination that I had of this scenario of like, yes, UnderOath always writes about stuff that's real and things that have happened. I'm like using all these feelings and energy that I'm looking at my life and my friend's life, older and younger, and like zooming out and be like, you know what, fuck this. That
Yeah.
feeling of like if I feel like if the them, us versus them, if they came to us and said the world is ending, you need to run and bury yourself underground, and
Mm.
I think we'd be more like no, like like
Yeah.
like like prove it, like we're gonna
Yeah.
take, like us, I feel like I'm seeing it more as like information becoming readily available and people being able to. Yeah, there's a lot of false information on the internet, but I feel like people are trying to
Mm.
help it one another, like even down to like health and food. Like y'all's food is a lot better than ours, but you're seeing a lot on Instagram and all this stuff nowadays where people are trying to help you. Like, look at the back of these labels. This shit's gonna give you cancer. This stuff is terrible.
Mm.
Like, and not scaremongering, but like here's answers when you're in the grocery store. Like
Yeah.
it's simple. This is just one scenario. I'm just, this
Yeah.
you can say this across the board for a lot of things, but like
Mm.
I feel like us as citizens and humans are at the point where we're kind of sick of whatever system may be telling us what to do, where to be, what to think. Like that, just the idea of that COVID thing where it was like, we're taking away your job and what you do, and you're stuck at home.
Mm.
And if you run out of money, you're fucked. And,
Yeah.
figure out how to eat. And, like it was a very weird thing in hindsight to look back on and be like, someone has that much power to be like, no, shutting it down.
Yeah.
You don't work anymore. By the way, you've
Yeah.
been doing that for 20 years. You can't get on stage. We're not gonna let
Mm.
you. Like there's just so much I feel like in that Generation of Surrender song that's just like, yeah, I mean, calling it as I see it, just like fuck this.
Yeah.
Like I think we deserve better, and
Yeah.
let's take it down. If they come at us again,
Yeah.
let's take them down. I don't know, like
I think, yeah, it's be more punk rock. That is anti-authority. That's like,
yeah,
yeah. The first question is why. Like, that's what you've caught. That
yeah,
idea. The first question is why when you're told something. Some
yeah,
people don't do that, and that's why I love that song so much. It's an anthem.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I just feel like you're starting to see it in small ways.
Mm.
People are
Yeah.
people are dying for change, and people want. I think, and it's sad because I feel like you're seeing people wanting to help other people, but we're being
Mm.
lied to, and it's like, have you ever thought about it? Like the stupidest thing. Here's another dumb one. Like I go in the store, and there's 70 different toothpastes, right?
Yeah.
And they all say they're going to do something, but 90% of them don't.
Yeah.
Why don't, like, instead of fearing us and scaring us and trying to sell your product, I'm pretty sure, just like McDonald's, everyone knows McDonald's is going to kill you and it's terrible for you. There is still
Yeah.
no shortage of people eating McDonald's because it's easy, it's fast, it's cheap,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
So, like, just tell me which fucking toothpaste is going to help me with not getting cavities, whether it tastes good or not. I'm gonna buy that one, but I also
Yeah.
know some people might buy the one that makes your teeth look pretty and
Yes.
tastes good, and
Yeah.
that's also okay. Just give us the fucking truth, right? Like I
Exactly.
that's just kind of that song in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see that headline now. Generation No Surrender about toothpaste? Question mark.
I
Right?
was actually just going to put under oath, but like an N in the middle, so under no.
Yeah.
Probably going to run out of time soon, but I need this question because I was fascinated by the lyrics for this. For Survivor's Guilt, I can't get enough blood on my hands. I think I'm going mad. I just sort of Shakespeare straight away. Am I
Yeah.
am I off target?
No. I like, um, when you have blood on your hand, like that was in reference to, so the song has, it came from three different things. So
Yeah.
the guilt of feeling like I was talking to you about earlier about like
Mhm.
surviving drug addiction and, um, knowing people that haven't. We also were talking about this feeling where I was bringing up a friend of mine that was in the military and how hard his life was post military because he was in a accident and everyone in his platoon died. Like they hit like a
Oh,
landmine or something,
jeez.
and
Yeah,
they all
right.
died, and he survived. Thank God I survived. Right? Shouldn't that be
Mm.
the feeling? But I think a lot of
Mm.
people carry that like he part of him, which is that he didn't, because now he has a hard time dealing with the fact that he lived and all of his friends didn't, and their families are dealing with that, and the you know survivor's guilt of it, and
Yeah.
then there's a touch of like mental health in the song as well, where
Mhm.
you're your own enemy. So that line of "I can't get enough blood on my hands" is when I was an addict, knowing that I'm fucking up all the time, but like it's almost like you're almost addicted to the fact of like I know that like I'm hurting everyone and myself, and I just need to keep doing that. I don't know why
Yeah.
I can't get enough blood on my hands. I can't get to the fact where I'm like, oh man, when you have blood on your hands, you can't get it off, and you want to run away and fix it, and like, but I just
Yeah.
I kept wanting more, and dealing with that feeling in hindsight is tough because I look back at those parts of my life and I was like, man, there were so many times I could have gotten out and should have gotten out, and like, really close calls and health
Yeah.
scares,
Yeah, of course.
and like looking at some of the photos, I can't even look at photos from back then, a lot of them, and be like, man, it's like I just I couldn't get enough blood on my hands, to get out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got a lot, I guess, of touring coming up and stuff like that. But tell me what you're most excited about with this new record and performing songs from it live. What are you most excited about personally?
Um, I truly believe, I know a lot of people say this, but I believe this is UnderOath's best work by a mile. Whether it's your
Yeah.
favorite in your personal taste or not, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to debate someone's personal taste, but in as far as songwriting and sonics and the amount that goes into these songs, playing them is
Hmm.
really fun, and they sound like, if you hear us play a song of Chasing Safety and you hear a song off this, it's like completely night and day. There's so much more density because there's
Yeah.
so much more we put in it. There's a lot. Chris has got so many layers, and there's just octaves on guitar. Like, it's just so thick and exciting, and every song was kind of written from the standpoint of like how this will feel on stage. I think at the end of the day, UnderOath is still a live band and always will be a live
Yeah.
band. We've made our living off being a great live band. We are Our bread and butter is, I think we're better on stage than we are on records still. I think we're getting to the point now where we can where we capture records really well. And I believe
Yeah.
the last two records are really good captures, but we're still better live. Like, we are just a
Yeah.
live band. Like, that's where we shine. So these songs really come to life even more so on stage, where you've got fucking people just like, it's just the
Yeah.
energy in the room is so fun. And I'm excited that I really do believe like this is the start of the next 20 years for UnderOath. I think as
Awesome.
we wrapped up the 20th anniversary world tour, as we were releasing new music, and the new music is the start of the next book. Like, we closed that first
Yeah.
book. We'll always reference the book. We'll always have it there. You can read it whenever you
Yeah.
want. It's on Spotify. It's in your record collection. It's wherever. If you're going to come see us live, we're always going to play songs from the first book, but we're on the second book now. And here, like,
Yeah.
we're starting this journey together with new fans, new and old. And it's exciting
Mm.
time to be an UnderOath right now. We're all happy and healthy and getting along, which hasn't
Yeah.
happened in almost 20 years. So it's exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, it's pretty rare for a music journalist of 19 years to interview the same guy three times over 15 years. So thanks for
Yeah,
your time. That's rad.
absolutely. That's super
Yeah.
cool. Oh, yeah.
I'm imagining you got more coming up, so I'll leave you there. Thanks so much for your time again today, Spencer.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Great
Yeah.
chat.